Hey everybody, this is our last day in Nehemiah. We're going to be in Esther, which would be a fun book to be in tomorrow. And today we're going to talk about the Sabbath. You ever wondered, what's the deal with the Sabbath? As Christians, are we supposed to follow the Sabbath? Are we supposed to not go shopping on Sunday or do other things? Or what can we do or what shouldn't we do? And all of those questions that come up. In Nehemiah chapter 13, he notices that they are loading grain on their donkeys, and they're bringing grain and wine and grapes and figs and all kinds of produce into Jerusalem itself to sell on the Sabbath. And Nehemiah gets upset about this, and he says, why are you profaning the Sabbath in this evil way? And he says in verse 18 of chapter 13, he says, wasn't it just this sort of thing that your ancestors did that caused our God to bring all this trouble upon us and our city? So aren't you doing the same things that caused us to go into exile and God to sort of leave us for a while? Now you're doing it again. Well, so they were breaking the Sabbath. Now the Pharisees in the New Testament really nailed Jesus for the Sabbath thing. And really got upset because he was breaking the Sabbath. So in Luke chapter 6, verse 1, it says, on the Sabbath day, as Jesus was walking through some grain fields, his disciples broke off heads of grain, rubbed off the husks in their hands, and ate the grain. But some Pharisees said, why are you breaking the law by harvesting grain on the Sabbath? And Jesus replied, haven't you read the Scriptures? What David did when he and his companions were hungry, he went into the house of God and broke the law by eating the sacred loaves of bread that only the priests can eat. He also gave some to his companions. And Jesus added, the Son of Man, that's the word Jesus has for himself, is Lord even over the Sabbath. So what's going on here, and how can it help us? Well, what is the Sabbath to begin with? Well, the Sabbath is the seventh day, the day of rest. You remember in creation, God created the day, and there was morning, there was evening, and first day, and second day, third, fourth, sixth. And then it got to the seventh, there's no morning and evening, just the Lord rested on that day and declared that day to be a day of rest. God stops, his work is done, it's completed, and he's resting. So part of the Sabbath is resting in God, is looking to God. That's really what the Sabbath is all about, is looking to God on that seventh day. And what does that mean? Well, looking to God means that we're looking to God to supply all our needs and all our concerns and fulfill us in every way. And that's exactly what was happening before the fall. God was supplying all their needs, and they didn't need anything else. But then the fall came, and sin destroyed all of that. And so we stopped living depending on God, and we started living depending on ourselves. And so we weren't enjoying God, and we weren't enjoying the world God had given to us and all the blessings that God had given to us on that seventh day. We kind of forgot all about God with our sin in our lives. So that seventh day of rest is really all about us having a day when we look to God for all things. We realize that all things come from God. Now, one really important way to celebrate that day is to go to church and to hear about the gospel, about how God has provided everything for you. And so that's very important, part of your Sabbath day of rest. But one of the things we do with things that should be a blessing is that we make them into the law. So now, if you're doing this or doing that on the Sabbath day, that's bad and terrible, and you shouldn't do that. And that's exactly what happens to Jesus on this, when they're walking through the fields and they're taking grain and they rub it. I don't know if you've ever done that, but I have. You rub it. Actually, almost turns into a gum sometimes as you're chewing those seeds. And so they were doing that, and the Pharisees noticed, and they, lay into him. Here, you're breaking the Sabbath. And they didn't get what the Sabbath's about. They kind of forgot the Sabbath is about trusting God, not about whether you rubbed your hands together to have a little something to eat. And they just forgot all of that that importance of why the Sabbath was important. And Jesus now reminds them. He says, the Sabbath was made for us, not the other way around. The Sabbath was made so that we would focus on God and realize that all things come from God. That's the first thing. But here's the second thing. He says the Son of Man is even Lord over the Sabbath. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that Jesus is fulfilling the Sabbath in himself. That Jesus in himself is reconnecting us with God so that we are now depending on God again, looking to God, trusting God instead of ourselves. That he is this week. And think about when you're in the Sabbath day, the day of rest. By the way, Jesus rested on the Sabbath even when he was in the tomb. He was resting on the Sabbath day. And then he rose on the 8th day, a new day when he broke the power of sin and the devil and made it possible for once again us to connect with God in a Sabbath way, in a way that we depend on God and not on ourselves. So there's the Sabbath. And I hope you will really think about following the spirit of the Sabbath, which is looking to God and trusting God. Not so much about, whether you wash the dishes or not. It's kind of stupid. But whether you're looking to God and trusting in God, that's a Sabbath rest. And that's what the Sabbath is all about. Take care.